Welcome to another Wine Steward video. It's good to see you again this week, or at least to imagine you being up here with us on the mezzanine. We keep getting delayed as far as opening this wine bar back up, but we will do this sometime. So in the meantime, thanks for watching the videos. One fun way to connect with you and to tell you about some new stuff, tell you about logistics and how to shop the Wine Steward, what our hours are this week. They keep changing. So let's get some of those trivial things out of the way and first tell you that we will be open this Saturday, the 4th of July. Typically we're closed on the 4th of July, or maybe run for maybe 3 or 4 hours. This time, since more of you are in town and it's on a Saturday, a lot of you will be walking up and down this street, we might as well be open for longer. So from 10 to 5 this 4th of July, you can come in and get your last minute fireworks wines and go home and enjoy. So come see us, please. And we appreciate the fact that so many of you are still attempting to get downtown to see us during the weekends with the streets closed right now. So we do still have Main Street closed Friday through Sunday evening. And that's just a reminder that you have to be a little more creative about how to get to us. One way you can do it is to hopefully find a parking place across the street in that lot or in the back parking lot. There's another lot over by the railroad tracks, and if you just want to do so-called curbside pickup, the curbside out front, of course, is not useful when the street is closed, so you can call us from behind the store, double park back there, give us a jingle, say you're here for your order. You can order off of our website, continue to do that. So once again, website is very useful that way. The store remains open. We unlock these doors every day, and you can come in as long as you're wearing a mask and shop that way as well. So be as safe as you'd like. We're being safe around here at the Wine Steward. We want to work with you one way or the other. So that's it for 4th of July. That's it for hours. And just a reminder that the street is closed. And let's see, why don't we just get right into some product? And before we get to the main subject of the day, I want to tell you about this beautiful cheese we've just brought in from France. We've carried it once or twice before, and we're rather daring by having it, I would say, because it's not a weird cheese at all, but you're probably wondering, like, what's the deal with a cheese that's washed 3 times with walnut liqueur? Well, the fact is that wonderful flavor of walnuts gets right into the cheese. So this is made with vache, or cow's milk, and it is kind of nutty, semi-soft, semi-hard, somewhere in between, you know, and it's especially got that delicious walnut flavor. So except for those of you who have perhaps some issues with nuts, all of you otherwise are going to love this cheese. I really recommend that you get into it and be as adventurous with your cheese shopping as you wonderful Wine Steward customers are with your sense of wine adventure. So a great cheese to check out while we have it. We don't have it all the time. It's here now. It's Les Cypriens cheese. Now, let's talk about the fact that, well, actually one more cheese, simply because you finally have tomatoes, right? They're coming in, hopefully, out of your garden. You want to get in on the burrata. We've been letting you know for a month and a half or so that we have been carrying burrata once again from Italy, from Puglia, Italy. But now it's an especially timely subject, timely announcement to let you know that burrata is flying out here and it's coming in every week. So nice and fresh, flown over from Puglia, Italy. And it's the best burrata I've ever had. So check it out. Now, what we want to say is that we haven't said enough about Spain lately, have we? We had an Italian Zoom event the other day with importer Tom Kelly of Small Vineyards, and that went off very, very well, I think. I'm glad that so many of you participated in that. So we've covered Italy recently. We've talked a lot about French wine in these videos. And so if you consider that Europe has maybe a big 3 of the wine countries, and with apologies to Greece and Germany and so on, the 3 that we as American wine drinkers know and embrace the most are, of course, France and Italy, and you got to say Spain. And too many of us are getting like a little bit into just one grape from Spain. That would be Tempranillo. And certainly we're one of the reasons why we're telling you to buy Tempranillo from Toro, from Rioja, Ribera del Duero, and so on. And the purpose of a 6-bottle sampler that we're putting on our website as of today is to get you into a little more spirit of adventure per Spain. If we were to do a Spain 101 class up here, we would certainly include all of these varieties. So why don't we tell you about what's going into our 6-bottle Spanish wine sampler. Let's tell you first that one little extra treat for those buying the sampler will be a tub of Marcona almonds. These Marconas are so different from the almonds that we grow here in California. They have a more moist and buttery texture to them. They are freaking delicious. We roast them in-house. We add some salt and some extra virgin olive oil from Spain, and then occasionally we'll sprinkle them or dust them with pimenton or paprika. They call it pimenton in Spain, so why don't we? And then what we have also done recently is been adding some herbs to Provence instead. So the same herbs that grow in Provence, France, they happen naturally in Spain. And so we thought, well, that would still be Spanish to apply that. So the herbs to Provence, olive oil, and salt Marcona almonds are in your 6-bottle sampler pack from Spain, all right? So get ready to enjoy those. Let's tell you about the wine. We cannot do a Spanish sampler without representing Rioja, so we're actually going to do that twice. So here is a brand new vintage of a wine that we've been carrying for many years. This is Viña Santurnia. This is from the northern part of Rioja. Let's see where that is on our map. Rioja, right here. So you're in northern Spain, you're almost to the top of Spain, and in fact the northern part of Rioja is included in what we think of as Basque country. And Rioja's claim to fame grape, of course, is Tempranillo. We would call Tempranillo the noble grape of Spain. It is to the Spanish what Cabernet Sauvignon is to us, you might say. And Rioja is, we could call it the Napa Valley of Spain. It's the most famous place for Tempranillo in that country. So Viña Santurnia is 100% Tempranillo, even though sometimes you can add a little Graciano or Masuelo. This producer tends to go 100%. It uses 80% American oak, 20% French. It's young, it's a 2016. It's a crianza, which kind of indicates that you drink it young. I do think that this one will age for 5 to 7 years very, very well. This has audacious flavors right now. It is like smoking with that American oak. American oak is not necessarily the friend of every wine. You don't ever want to really put your Pinot Noir in an American oak barrel. It has an audacity of flavor, you might say. Tempranillo can handle it. Tempranillo likes American oak. And so this is where you get that really classical flavor. American oak, a little bit of French. And so there's a lot of tobacco and plum and dark cherry going on in this wine. It is so flavorful. It's a noisy Rioja, you might say, because of how much it says in nose and flavor. So it actually is the nice counterpoint to this wine in that we thought, since Rioja is so well known, we had to do 2 of them in this pack. We're also doing a Reserva from Lealtanza. So this is a 2014. It's got 2 years of age on this guy. And Lealtanza Reserva, we call it Reserva because it spends a little bit longer in barrel. It's released a little bit later. So the winery ages it for us so it can mellow out a little bit. So compared to the other Rioja, this one is nice and mild and a little more passive in its attack. It doesn't have attack. Instead, it kind of invites you to come to it slowly. So as you're working your way through a glass, you realize halfway through, wow, this is really good. It's not as, I keep saying audacious, but the other wine is like flamboyant, blatant, and this Rioja is mellow and a little bit passive, and by the time you're through with that one glass, you are definitely reaching for another. You are not tired of this wine. In fact, you're getting to know it better, and perhaps it's liking the air that it's getting that whole time and becoming better and better as it gobbles up some air and the nose starts to bloom a bit more. So a beautiful Reserva Tempranillo from Lealtanza, a producer I had the honor of visiting, I think 2 years ago now, and a very nice visit. They grilled some lamb for us, and it was amazing with this wine. So from that same area of Rioja. So we're gonna leave that place now and tell you that we are daring to put a white wine into your sampler. I know so many of you will want just white or just red, but if we want to represent Spain in many ways, certainly can't do it always with 6 wines, but if we can do it in as many ways as possible, we certainly have to have a white in there. So now you have certainly come to know Albarino. Albarino is probably Spain's best known white grape, right? White wine, it's the name of a grape, it's the name of the wine, and that comes from out here in Rias Baixas, right on the coast above Portugal, the Atlantic coast. Albarino, very well known. We don't need to do it in the sampler. It's not going to teach us anything. We're selling Albarino like crazy already. Let's get you into something else. That something else could be Verdejo. Verdejo is a wine grown here in Rueda, which is near Madrid. It is therefore Madrid's house white, you could say. It is the by the glass white at every restaurant, in front of which you'll see a sandwich sign, and this is our tapas specialty list, and on top, oh, by the way, how about a glass of Verdejo for €2 or €3. So you guys have gotten into Verdejo recently too. We've been carrying it for years down there. It's a great summertime white. We're not doing either of those. Let's tell you about a wine that you don't see as often, but we try to carry it all the time. This is a new one. I tasted it yesterday and asked the vendor to get it in here today so we could have it in the sampler. This grape is Godello, Godello. And you see the double L, you pronounce it yeah, just like llama, como te llamas, or what's the name of your llama? And here is where it comes from. So we're in the area of Galicia, which we call green Spain. We call it that because it actually does rain up here, and there's deep river valleys. We're fairly inland from where they do the Albarino, here in this area called Valdeorras. So Valdeorras is the place, a lot of black slate in the soil there, and Godello is the grape. This is a wine that is not as lean and zingy as Albarino and Verdejo. It is, just by nature of the grape, a little richer, a little broader, and I feel like it behaves a little bit like white Burgundy. So if you like white Burgundy, and we know many of you do, I believe you will love this wine, and I believe you should honor it by putting it into this Burgundy glass. So I don't even have the skinny glass up here with me today, but you know that bright whites belong in that narrower glass. So when we're talking about Albarino Verdejo, put it in the skinny glass. This glass is fantastic for this wine, which has a little more richness, not oak richness. This never saw a barrel. It's just what the grape does and the wonderful soil there in Valdeorras. Beautiful. This got opened yesterday. A certain feature of Godello, not all of them, but many of the good Godellos actually smell and taste better the next day. It's got not antioxidative properties, but it resists oxygen better than many, many whites. I haven't even refrigerated this, and it just smells great. It has a richness, and in the middle, kind of defiantly standing up against that richness, is a very wonderful tangy acidity. So you get flavors out here and right down the middle of the tongue. Tip of the tongue going right straight back and in the sides. It's a delicious wine. You got to try this Godello. It is really lovely. I'm so glad we finally have one back in the store. Now, in order to show you the breadth of Spain and to go back to red wine, why don't we go all the way over here to near Barcelona. Many of you have visited that city, and if you were able to rent a car and get out of town, you might have gone down on about an hour and a half long drive to an area called Priorat, or Priorato. This is Priorat right here, and we call it the donut hole because it is surrounded by another region, which we call the donut, of Montsant. So Priorat is famous, and the prices can be pretty darn high. The nice thing about Montsant that surrounds Priorat, it has very, very similar soils there. This crumbly blue-gray slate called Licorea, and it also has some other soil types. So Montsant actually has more variations in soil, more opportunities for people wanting to make wines reflective of different soils than Priorat itself does. And it's actually a little higher than Priorat. So this wine actually comes from Montsant, therefore the price is a little bit better. We're right around $20 before Wine Club discount. It's called Acoustic. It represents two different grape varieties. The two most important grape varieties of this area are Cariñena. We might know that grape better as Carignan. And the other grape is Garnacha. So when you have Priorat or when you have Montsant, you're almost certainly going to have a wine based on those two. It might have a little Syrah, a little Cab thrown in. This sticks to its guns. There is no oak and there's nothing but Cariñena, 70%, and 30% Garnacha. This wine smells and kind of behaves like a warm day. It exudes warmth, and it is really wonderful with barbecue. So get to know it. It is a classical version, no barrels. Barrels are so important in Rioja. It is like part of the tradition there, but over here, they emphasize rather the soil and the grape. And those two grapes really don't always need wood. So Garnacha, Carignano, all by themselves in this wonderful wine called Acoustic. So you could call it a Priorat alternative. And then let's go to another region where the idea that all the fine wine in Spain comes along this latitude is objected to a little bit, because whereas it's true that Rioja, Ribera del Duero, Toro, Rías Baixas, where Albariño comes from, where we just were for the acoustic wine, that all happens east to west along this part of Spain. Now all of a sudden we're going to take a dive down to this area that I call Moor country. This is the part of Spain that was most affected by the Moors staying here for, gosh, nearly 800 years. And we're going to visit this area called Jumilla. The specialty grape here is not Tempranillo, nor is it Garnacha. I'm sure there's some of each of those down there, but this is where Monastrell gets to shine and be the highlight grape. So this wine is made entirely of Monastrell, very old vine Monastrell. And if you haven't heard of Monastrell yet, then maybe you have heard of Mourvedre. Mourvedre, some people say, but Mourvedre is Spain's name for Monastrell. The grape actually comes from Spain, so maybe we should all be calling it Monastrell. At any rate, Monastrell doesn't always work, in my opinion. It can be a little bit too much of itself. It can be a little bit overbearing in a kind of a saucy, almost barbecue sauce, hickory flavored barbecue sauce way. But that might be interesting and impressive by the sip, but you realize halfway through a glass, I'm getting tired of this wine. It's just too much of itself, too much of a good thing. This wine is successful because it shows a little bit of restraint and balance. We showed it to our staff a couple of days ago and they said, thumbs up, I get it. They've also had those Monastrells that can be a little bit out of whack, and this is a little bit more refreshing. It's not light at all. There's no lack of flavor. It's just flavor that works. It's enough and not too much. So Godu Verde, all organically grown fruit, and it's a delicious look at a wine country that's not in this east-west latitude area of fine wine. It comes from Jumilla. Jumilla. There's that double L again for you. Finally, we're gonna go back north and show you the cool weather red grape of Spain. In other words, Rioja is pretty warm, Garnacha and Carignano, they're grown in fairly warm places, but we're gonna go back to what we were calling green Spain, or Galicia, this general area here. Galicia has that Albariño country we were saying, but right now we're gonna go to an area not even shown on this wine map because this map's kind of old. They've been growing fruit in Ribera Sacra for a very long time, but it wasn't noted as a region, a legally defined place until more recently. So Ribera Sacra is a crazy wine region where you might even have to have a rope around your waist tied off to a big grape stake or something up the hill to keep yourself from tumbling several hundred feet down into a river. It is typically, there's no flat land here, so you're growing your fruit on extremely steep riverbanks, and it's a slip and slide area too because of the slippery slate that you are growing this wine in. The grape of the area, even though there are others, the primary grape is called Mencía. So why don't we give you a Mencía? I haven't carried one in a while, and that's too bad. We had one the other day and we said, hey, let's get Mencía back in the set. And in fact, this is the wine that inspired this sampler, because we thought, and a lot of you have yet to start walking in saying, hey, do you carry Mencía, even though it's a great Spanish red grape? Since you're not necessarily asking, we're kind of forcing it on you by putting it in this sampler. Get to know Mencía. It is cool weather red. And instead of big jammy flavors and bold fruit, it can have things that remind you a little bit more of perhaps Northern Rhone Syrah, Gamay from Beaujolais, France. Some people equate it with Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc is a very nosy wine that's not necessarily always just fruit. It can also have maybe some peppercorn concept things going on there. This wine is, as a Mencía, for me, a little riper. It's got some more red fruit than usual, and that's why I thought, yeah, Pleasanton can embrace this. And I'm playing around with two glasses here, deciding for myself which one I prefer, because it does have kind of a Pinot Noir quality to it too. It's got this elegant, curvy, not so tannic, but more rounded styling. And I think I do really like the nose and the way the wine lands in the palate from a Pinot Noir glass. I'm going to stick with that. And I would also advise during these warm days that we're having to serve a wine like this, and in fact all of these red wines, at cellar temperature. So we talked about temperature a few weeks ago. Get this wine a little cooler, start it out maybe too cold, and then see what it does as it warms up a little bit. And choose your temperature. That is super elegant wine. Mencia, you should know it. It is the red grape of, let's say, green Spain, okay? Mencia. That's it for the sampler. This whole thing goes for a regular price of around $120. Your wine club discount will obviously take it down from there. And we will have this on our website, thewinesteward.com, within minutes. So I'm glad you watched this video. I hope that you're intrigued by the fact that we are finally talking about Spain again, my favorite wine country, I think. And come in, get the sampler. You'll be able to order it online and pick it up here anytime you'd like. Don't forget the back door. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Thanks so much for watching.